Hi, I'm Robert Curtis. I'm the head instructor of the Distance Calculus program. In this video, I want to talk about a question that many students who are thinking about enrolling in one of our courses ask. How fast can I finish my course? Now, one question I can definitely answer is how slow can you finish your course? The how fast question I need to talk about a little bit more. So the how slow question is that the maximum amount of time that you have to finish your course is 1 year. And some students like to take that amount of time to finish their course. You might have a job, a family, you might be traveling, you might be moving house. And the flexibility of having a whole year to finish your course is very appealing to some students. And some students take the whole year and things come up in your life and you have to take 3 weeks off from the course because you got sick or your dog had to go to the vet or something. Things always come up and it's nice to have that kind of flexibility. But we have a number of students who don't necessarily want to take a year. They like the flexibility of distance calculus of being able to start when they enroll, so starting the day you fill out the enrollment application, and they want to finish fast. And that's okay too. What I'm going to try to describe for you are some different scenarios of how to estimate how long it might take you to finish the course if you really want to be on the fast track. All right? So fast has to do with which course you're in. And the two common courses that students want to go really fast in is business calculus or calculus 1, freshman calculus. Those are the two common courses that students want to go really fast in. And I'll talk about the other courses basically along these lines here. But let's talk about the business calculus course. Business calculus is easier than calculus 1. It's easier, it's shorter. It's meant to be easier because it is supposed to be the lower of the calculus courses. It is a terminal course, so you're not expected to take any other math classes after that. Whereas calculus 1 is the harder calculus course. It's the engineering level calculus course, the STEM calculus course as they call it now. And it's expected that you're going to go on and take calculus 2 and calculus 3 and calculus 4, differential equations, linear algebra. You're probably going to go take more calculus over here than you are with business calculus. Now, let's talk about business calculus straight off the bat. There are a number of world's records for how fast students have completed the business calculus course. I do want to talk about the number of hours in each of these courses. The number of hours is based upon what's called a Carnegie semester. So that's 14 weeks. And then if it's a 4-unit class, it's expected that you will have 4 plus 8, so 4 lecture hours, and then it's expected that for each lecture hour you'll have 2 hours of homework outside of lecture, so that's 4 plus 8, which equals 12 hours per week in the course for 14 weeks. So that's 12 times 14, which equals 168 hours. Now, that's a lot of hours. And so some people say, well, that's too many hours. You can't expect us to spend that many hours on a course. And this computation here is what all courses go through, all university courses go through. Now, if you take courses that are not necessarily, as difficult, like math and science and engineering, those courses tend to be more difficult. And for some of those courses, this estimate is really an underestimate. But for courses that are not nearly as challenging. Sometimes in the humanities you find courses that are, just a little bit lighter. It's lots of reading like in an English course, but in some other courses, not as much work. And I think you know what I mean. This is meant to be an average of how many hours one is supposed to spend on a 4-unit. This is a 4-unit class. If you are happening to take one of the 3-unit classes, then the computation is 3 plus 6 times 14. So 9 times 14. But let's just go with this number here, 168 hours of work, and that is the estimate of either of these courses here. But it doesn't figure in that if you start in business calculus and your skills are very weak, let's say you don't remember high school algebra at all, you may have to spend more time than this to actually come up to speed in this course. Whereas if your algebra skills are really strong from high school, you remember everything, you get the stuff right away, then you'll probably need less time getting started into the business calculus course. So these are the variables that come into play to answer the question, how fast can you go? Now, the world's record for business calculus, the world's record is 9 days. That's the world's record. Please, 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 please do not think in your head right now, oh, well, I'll set the new world record. This world record was set by a student who was an exceptional math student who was under great pressure to finish their course in 9 days in order to start graduate school on time. And many of you watching this video are probably in the same boat. You have applied to a graduate program, they have accepted you, and then at the last second they wrote you and said, oh, by the way, you need a calculus course. And you better finish it before your class here in our graduate school starts. And we get many calls in the spring from students who receive exactly that letter. And sometimes the students are giving late admissions to graduate school, and then they get that letter about calculus even later. All right? So the student who finished the business calculus course in 9 days, they did not do less than this amount of work. They did this amount of work. They did basically, I think, 14 hours of calculus every day for 9 days, and wow, it was a very difficult 9 days for them. They worked very, very hard, but they were highly motivated. They had to finish because of their graduate school plans. The student who did do this course in 9 days was also an exceptionally bright student. They were going to graduate school, and they were a very good student. They were a straight A student, and all of those factors came into play. They were a very good math student. They were very good on the computer. They were highly motivated that they had to finish within this amount of time, and they were straight A students. Now, that combination of student profile is very rare. I'm sure it's you, but if you're listening to this, probably you're thinking, well, okay, maybe I'm not an A student, I'm a B student. My computer skills maybe aren't so great. Maybe I don't remember as much from high school algebra. These are the things that go into making the course a little bit slower for you. Now, what we cannot do ever, for any reason whatsoever, is to shorten the course here because you have a deadline. The course is the course. You must do the course. So we do get students who are in a rush, who are very panicked, are very anxious, and they say, is there any way I can just do half the course? Is there any way I can just take the final exam? Is there any way I can just do some of the work? And the answer is no. Because these courses are accredited, and if we were to do something like that, which we would never do, but in case we did do that, we would get in trouble with our accreditation. So no, you must complete the entire course no matter what your deadlines are. Now, this is the world's record. The most common amount of time for a fast-track business calculus student is 3 weeks. That is common. A student signs up and they're able to finish business calculus in 3 weeks. How much time are they putting in every day? Well, you can see that it's about 50 hours a week, and that is basically a full-time job. And so that's a rather reasonable fast track, is 3 weeks from start to finish. But it is not by any means an easy 3 weeks. This is a every day 10 assignments, bam, bam, watching 2 to 4 hours of instructional videos, working on your homework 4 to 6 hours a day, every day. That's tough, all right? But this is the most common amount of time for a fast track student, is about 3 weeks. Sometimes students go a little bit less than 3 weeks. Sometimes, it goes into that 4th week a little bit, but it's about 3 to 4 weeks. A much more comfortable time, so that's fast. That's world's record. That's fast. And then, let's call this a good. The more common amount of time to take in the course is about 6 weeks for business calculus. That's a nice, healthy 20 hours a week of working on your course, 2 to 3 hours a day. And I try to describe to students that since this is a math class, there's only so much per day that you can absorb into your brain of math. It's, doing this is like, blah. But even this, there's only so much you can absorb. There's only so much math you can absorb. I try to use the analogy of going to the gym, right? All of us have gone through that, I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to start doing a lot of gym work. I'm going to go and I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to, run and I'm going to ride the life cycle and I'm going to do all this stuff. And that's great, but you can't go to the gym for 8 hours a day. If you go from no gym and then you start going to the gym 8 hours a day, every day, for 3 weeks, you won't be able to do it. And taking a math class after having probably some time off from math, especially if it's been years for some students we have, you have to think of the gym mentality. You can't go to the gym for 8 hours a day. You just can't do it. You go to the gym for an hour, and then your brain is tired. The math gym, your brain gets tired, and you need a break, and you have to come back to it tomorrow. And when you come back tomorrow, just like at the gym, your body's kind of sore. Well, your mind's going to be a little sore. And you're not going to be able to just go 8 to 10 hours a day on math. You're going to maybe do 2 or 3 hours a day. And that is going to be a really good amount for you to stick with. If you can stay with it consistently, then that is more like this one, the 6-week plan. All right. Something else to keep in mind is that no matter whether or not you wish to shoot for the world's record level, just staying on the super fast track, the good track, the normal track, of course, is 14 weeks at 12 hours a week, is that the beginning of the course always goes a little bit more slowly. So some students will start in business calculus and they'll get discouraged because the first few assignments take longer, right? And they say, how am I ever going to finish the 80 assignments in business calculus if the first 3 assignments took me 6 hours to do? And the answer is that it's just like going to the gym. The first few days at the gym, you're going to be pretty slow, you're going to be huffing and puffing, and you're going to have trouble finishing your exercises. The same way in the math class is that when you start, you're going to be going a little bit slow. And I always tell students, after you get past the first quarter or 1/2 of the course, then you start to go really fast. So the idea still works here in this in the speed things, is that, you know, the first week in this fast track here, the first week you might only get 10% done of the class. And you might think, there's no way I'm going to finish this class in 3 weeks. I'm sunk. And the answer is no, you're going to be okay. That first week is going to be tough, and then all of a sudden you're going to find your groove. You're going to find that perfect gear for you and shift gears. And then the last week, actually, in this, you'll finish half the course. All right? So, you know, don't despair when you start. If you feel like you're going too slow, you will get the hang of it, and then you'll really pop it into high gear and finish up strong. We see it all the time, so don't worry. Now, let's talk a little bit about Calculus 1 being a slightly different beast, and this applies also to the pre-calculus courses and to the higher courses to a lesser degree. If you're in the sophomore level courses like vector calculus, differential equations, linear algebra, you're a good student. You've made it through the first year of your calculus sequence, and those courses are, you know, you're not going to be able to do linear algebra in 9 days. No way. But I'll talk about the higher courses in just a minute. Let's talk about Calculus 1. Once again, you're not going to be able to do Calculus 1. The world's record for Calculus 1, I think, is 17 days. That was the world's record. That's 2.5 weeks. And that was a fast 2.5 weeks. And that was a student who had, likewise had, you know, an emergency situation. They had to finish Calculus 1. I think they wanted to start Calculus 2 at their university in the fall, and they did it over the summer. And boy, did they work very, very hard. And it was a difficult 17 days for them, I'm sure. I don't think they'll ever do it again, or ever want to do that kind of thing again, but they did do it again. Now, both of these things on the world's record level are really only for A students. A students, okay? That's not to say C students don't do well in distance calculus. They do. Students who come to us who are kind of C students, they actually excel and usually raise their grade up to a B or an A in distance calculus, but they do not do it quickly. They are not on this fast track at all. So sometimes I've gotten students who have come in and asked and said, well, I did really bad in Calculus 1. In fact, I didn't pass it last year, and it's the summertime, and I need to finish Calculus 1 in order to go into Calculus 2 in my regular program. So I failed Calculus 1. Can I do Calculus 1 with you guys really fast? No, you cannot. No way. You are not going to be on the world's record line. You are not going to be on the fast track line either. If you had struggles in either the course once where you failed it, perhaps, which does happen, or you struggled in the previous course, perhaps, you will not be on the world's record track. You will not be on the fast track. You probably won't even be on the good track. The good track is probably 10 weeks. But if you had struggled in any of your math courses, you are going to be here and below. Because, I'm sorry if you have a scheduling thing, but I need you to succeed in this course, not to get through it fast and cut corners and not do the course right. I need you to spend the time necessary. And if you have been struggling in these courses, then you cannot expect to go fast at all. And in fact, if you struggle in our course, we will slow you down. We will force you to achieve the mastery learning 100% on assignments, and we'll block you from going faster. We'll stop you from accessing future assignments until you bring your previous assignments up to 100%. This is discouraging for some students. They get very discouraged because they have a schedule in mind of how they want to finish their course. And I am extremely sympathetic to those schedule requirements. And I want you to go as fast as you possibly can to finish the course. However, I need you to do your best work, and I need you to engage the course as it is designed in the mastery learning format. I need you to succeed. And succeeding may mean that it's going to take you longer to finish your course than you may wish to. I'm sorry, I apologize right now, but I want you to succeed academically and not necessarily finish the course sooner rather than later. Now, we do have to aid in the speed requirement, that there is the possibility, and is described in the other video on grades, is that you can decide to take a lower grade path, which does have fewer assignments in it, and you can theoretically go a little faster by not having to finish as much work. That is true. However, it doesn't mean that you get to do inferior work. It does mean you have fewer assignments, but they still all have to be done at 100%, even if you're going on a C. And some students don't really understand that. They say, well, I'm going for a C in this class. I should only have to do the work at a C level. And the answer is no. No, it's mastery learning, so you're going to do a slightly fewer number of assignments, like about 20% less, 20 or 30% less for a C grade, but all of those assignments are still going to be at 100% completion rate. It's kind of difficult for some students to wrap their heads around it. And I understand that the conflict is how fast can you go versus the grades that you will earn. It's kind of a different modality than a classroom course, where, you know, a fast classroom course might be one that, you know, that there are some courses that meet for like 3 weeks online, and you have, you know, lectures every night for 3 hours, and you have to get all your homework done in 3 weeks. Those classes don't really work in math. I see them a lot in MBA programs, but for math, math is just too difficult to do that kind of stuff from. You need time for it to absorb into your mind. And the analogy, once again, that I use is the gymnasium, the going to and working out, right? If you go and work out for 3 weeks like crazy, you're going to hurt your body, you're going to hurt your mind, and you're really not going to succeed in the workout thing. It's going to be a crazy 3 weeks. I mean, there are these things at gyms called boot camps, you know, and you go and you do some crazy amount of work for, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, crazy amount of working out, and, you know, like suddenly you come out of that boot camp and you lose 20 pounds and all this. But out of those boot camps, they also have lots of disclaimers about, you know, not harming your body, and you have to get a doctor's approval to come in and do it, and, you know, that's the kind of analogy that you'll hear from me when you talk to me about your speed requirements here. And Calculus 2 is an even harder course than Calculus 1, so these days actually increase. Calculus 2 is really, it's the longest course out of all of the calculus sequence. It's by some measure the most difficult, and it just takes longer to go through. So these times are actually even longer to get through. And then the higher level courses, the best rule of thumb is, you know, they're going to take about 2 months to complete on the fastest track possible. Some students have done them in 6 weeks, some have even done them in 4 weeks. but it's 1 to 2 months is about as fast as you can do the sophomore level courses. All right, I hope this answers your question on how fast can I go. Many of you will listen to and watch this video and then still think, well, I'm in here or I'm in here, and please write me an email and we can chit chat about whether or not you're in one of these, or if I have some recommendations about how fast you might be able to go. And I probably will ask you many of the questions that I've just talked about in this video, and we'll go over it. It's the most common question that I get for students who are looking to enroll. The most common question that they ask before they enroll, because they have that scheduling thing in mind, and they ask, how much time do you think it will take? I can give you my best estimate, and it'll probably be a very conservative estimate, and certainly I hope you understand, and I'll say this in email as well, there's no guarantees on when you'll be able to finish. It's based upon your skill levels and your academic levels, and once again, our goal is that you learn the material in the course, not necessarily finish by a certain date. So I hope you can understand that the advice that I can give on email is really limited to that. And I have many examples over the years who, students have told me, oh yeah, I'm in the world's record category. I'm a great student, A+ across the board. And then they start in business calculus and it turns out that their math backgrounds are actually quite weak. They didn't think they were weak, but it turns out that they were weak and that they needed to be slowed down and to go through the course at a slower pace so that they're successful. This has been not very popular with some students. Some students think that they're doing better academically in math than they really are. On the other hand, we've also had some students who have been very concerned about needing to go slow and planning out their time accordingly. And then all of a sudden it seems that either because of the different course structure or whatever, they really excel in the course and they really can go a lot faster, and they can move up. They can actually finish their course weeks before they thought they could. That happens a lot too. So the reason why I tell you both sides of the story is that it's never quite clear where you might be until you really get started in the course, and we kind of have a feel for the kind of math student and then math student in this different kind of course that you are. And it's kind of like, I use the gymnasium example quite a lot, but it's kind of like going to the gym, getting a personal trainer, and you think, oh yeah, I'm really in shape and all this, and the personal trainer says, no, you're not. We need to do some more sit-ups. But sometimes you might go in to the gym and you think, oh, I'm in terrible shape. I'm just terrible. And the personal trainer says, no, you're doing pretty good. You're all right. We can kind of go a little bit faster. We can develop our workout a little bit stronger. So it all depends on these many, many variables. And I hope this little discussion helps you make some decisions. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.